Hey! we are live.
Awesome.
Episode 10, Horror Metal Cast. What's up, people? How we doing tonight, Stevie?
I am doing fabulous, as always. How about you?
Awesome. I am just ducky over here. I'm kicking ass. I got the Bose headphones on tonight. I'm rocking some style here.
Yeah.
I can hear you clearly and audibly.
Very
I'm
good. Very good. Awesome.
I'm ready to babble for an hour here. I'm ready to go.
It's exciting. It's exciting. Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for joining us for episode 10. We are 10 deep, Horror Metal Cast. And
10.
We are very happy for those of you joining us live and for also those of you joining us after the broadcast airs. So last week we discussed, Slender Man, Mothman, Squatching, and Joe's favorite thing.
Squatching. Nice. Loving it.
So that kind of inspired us to discuss urban legends this week on the podcast. So mainly tonight we're going to be talking about urban legends, how they've inspired spin-offs and fiction, and why they're so exciting and interesting, things like that, how they've evolved over time, and shit like that. We're just going to talk some shit tonight. So basically we'll just dive right into the topic of conversation this evening. Basically, Joe, what do you think, in your opinion, makes an urban legend so interesting, and why have they prevailed and evolved over the years?
I think because of how widespread it is. It's almost like a pandemic. Everybody knows it. It's apparent and known to everyone. A quiet pandemic, a slow pandemic.
Yeah.
Over time, it's just that everybody seems to have that knowledge in their head, and it's just so wide that it's almost hard to ignore it and say it's not real because of the enormity of it.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody knows how big it is.
I think, and then what goes hand in hand with what you just said about how people know, and it's so widespread, and the information is shared on a massive level. I think on the other side of that, urban legends continue to be told and are shared because there's always that underlying lesson. Joe and I always pregame before the show goes live to kind of get on the same page with topics. So something that I had brought up to him was how, urban legends are very much, they can be compared to things like Aesop's fables or Grimm's fairy tales and things like that in folklore and pop culture, because there's always an underlying lesson and there's always some morality issue at stake. You know what I mean? Take for example, when talking about the Hook-hand man, the bad guy that inspired, popular films like I Know What You Did Last Summer. That was started. The urban myth was inspired actually by a real murder that happened in, I believe, Texarkana. I'm not sure if that's correct. So somebody correct me if I'm wrong. But anyway, so that myth was inspired by the whole Lover's Lane murders that happened. And basically it was widespread that you shouldn't be in any type of Lover's Lane situation because the Hook-hand man was going to come get you if you were having premarital sex. So that was the whole, oh, good, know that your virginity is at stake and your life, you will die, and that corny bullshit. So that's a good example of that. And then, other things like, mothers, take care of your children. It's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your children are? That type of thing, inspired by, unfortunate kidnappings and things like that. But what did you say it was in Staten Island? It was Cropsey,
yeah.
That was dreamed up to keep kids safe and out of trouble.
Well, there's actually a little bit of validity to it. I mean, there was a guy that escaped that was never found from an insane asylum in Staten Island. That's a fact. Yeah, and
well, they're always kind of based in some truth, you know.
That's the thing that was my point exactly, Stevie. It's there's got to be something to it, somewhere along the line, down the line, somewhere in that tale, that there's actual fact, and that's what makes it that much scarier. Because is there a dude out there running around with a hook? I don't know. It could be.
I don't know. You could look in the mirror and say Candyman a couple of times. Because that kind of goes along with the Hook Hand Man too. Candyman, which obviously inspired by Bloody Mary, but he did have a hook. So there you go.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff. I mean, there's movies made about urban legends all the time now, and there's so many of them. Like you said, it just predates our generations. Goes all the way back to Grimm's fairy tales. There was Hansel and Gretel. Don't go into the woods. Don't hang out in the woods. I mean,
don't eat too many candies because you're gonna get fat and a witch is gonna eat you.
Yeah, I got witches lined up waiting on me. I know I do. My mom always told me, you're gonna end up in the belly of a witch because you eat candy. That's all I ever did was eat candy. So. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of factual data, I'm sure, that you could tag to that, and maybe there was an old lady out in the woods that was a little off kilter. That
cannibal old lady.
Jeffrey Dahmer had heads in his refrigerator. You know what I mean? You don't know. So
more horrifying things that happened.
Right. I mean, reality. Far supersedes any fiction, I mean, you don't have to go far to find the crazy stuff out there. So these legends, I don't think they're so far-fetched to a point where they're not believable and or real. I mean, there's got to be a lot of truth to it. I mean, how could there be? I mean, the Mothman prophecies we were talking about last week was basically became an urban legend. I'm not quite sure what the moral of that would be, other than watch out for disasters. I don't know. But
I don't know. That is actually a good question. What's the moral behind Mothman? I guess maybe disaster can strike, and
be aware.
Yeah, be aware, and be aware of your surroundings, and don't take people for granted, because you never know what can happen to them. That's a good, morality subject.
Right, exactly. That's what I take away from that. There are so many of them, and it's hard. Candyman actually stuck with me very, very, very hard. That one freaked me out. I mean, I never. Because I'm actually a closet believer, like I'm a closet squasher. So I actually kind of believe in this stuff, and I'm definitely, I'm not the guy to stand in a dark room with a mirror and saying that 3 times, because I know, in my head, something's going to come out of the wall with a hook, and
I have probably, I was that kid that would go to the bathroom with like a candle in the night, and be like, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary. And I would wait. And I'd be like, damn it. And then, like, when I saw Candyman, I probably shouldn't have been watching Candyman at my age when it came out, but when I saw Candyman, I was like, "Ooh, I can't wait to try this."
Don't think about Candyman, okay? Because that'll date me.
I did, though. I don't know what it was. I was just so excited to try it. You know what I mean? And I was that weird kid that was like, let's see if Candyman shows up. Let's see if Bloody Mary comes to kill me. Like, you know what I mean? Like the weird little girl. But it's just something that is exciting about, oh wow, maybe this urban legend could be true. You know what I mean? So it's fun to hear the stories and to see them on screen or read about them in books when they're put into fiction, because it's fun and it's exciting. Unfortunately, sometimes they're based on real life tragedies, like the real Lovers Lane murders, you know, or the Amityville murders.
Right.
You know, so but I mean, honestly, isn't all fiction, you know, life inspires art, life inspires reality, inspires fiction, you know, some ideas have to come from somewhere.
Well, that was my point. That's exactly where I am. I'm saying the same thing. I mean, you got to have some kind of factual data there. There's got to be some kind of truth to it in
Well,
order
yeah,
for it to resonate as long as it did. And,
absolutely. And, you know, like another good example of that is the whole organ harvesting, urban legends, like don't go to third world countries because you will be, you know, lured by a seedy local who's going to, you know, slip you a roofie.
You give me a kidney now, Mister. You get a kidney. No need. You got two. You give me one now.
Rooted in real life. There are a lot of stories where cartels or you know, other not so moral people have stolen organs and sold them on the black market, or to get even with someone or settle a score, you know, you steal one of their kidneys or you take a lung or some fucking crazy shit. So it's definitely rooted in, you know, it's definitely rooted in reality. There's an example of an entire chapter of the book, not the movie, but the book World War Z. There's an entire chapter where the author's interviewing a gentleman in Brazil, where apparently that's like a huge urban myth down there is the black maggot, black market, not black maggot, black market urban organ harvesting is a big thing down there, apparently, among the urban myth circulation. But there's a whole chapter devoted to that in the book World War Z, where that's how the zombie virus spread to Brazil, was that it was harvested from a guy who was infected, and the heart was put into someone else, and then the guy died on the operating table or shortly thereafter and came back a zombie. And that's how the virus was brought to South America in that instance. And then strangely enough, another Brazil bit of horror fiction was the movie Turistas. I'm not sure, probably came out maybe about like 10 years ago or so, maybe a little bit longer. You know, group of people go down on vacation, they have fucked up, they wake up in a tub, kidneys missing. Now a bunch of you know, shady dudes are like hunting them down to get the rest of their organs, you know. So
how much would you give her?
There's definitely a lot of validity in it, and it's a thing that probably happens here in America. I don't deny it. I would 100% believe that that's something that happens here.
I was guarding my kidneys pretty well down there in Peru when we went. You know what I mean? I have my hands behind me.
Don't go on any excursions with locals that you know what I mean. Don't go
carry machetes.
Yeah.
You know what, Stevie? Honestly, I'm more afraid of urban legends than I am of these guys. You know what I mean? If they don't have a gun, I'm gonna hit them with a refrigerator. You know, case closed. You know, I hit them with a chair or something, or drive over them with a car. You're good. They won't get back up. Like supernatural things will just keep coming. You know what I mean? They're very tired. You don't get tired a lot. It's hard to deal with. They're very pesky. You know what I mean? You got to really weed them out. You know, like crosses and all kinds of paraphernalia. You know, you got to go out and get shit, and it's not easy. You know, the other guys, you know, boom, baby, you know, boom with a bat, you know, little, and you're all right. But the other, that's bad stuff. But you're right. You got to watch those kidneys because you need them.
Yes, you do. Yeah. Hello. Thank you. While we're on the subject of urban myth rooted in reality, since you are, you know, we outed you last week as a squatcher, since that's like, you know, that's your wheelhouse, that's your thing, you know. Tell the audience, let the people know about something I grew up with. You grew up with it, the Jersey Devil. Let the people know about the Jersey Devil.
Okay, the Jersey Devil. The Jersey Devil was, off the top of my head, was born on the Leeds family property. Now, the mother and the father wanted a child, and they were having trouble having a kid. So it was said that they implored the use of black magic, and they summoned something, and it gave them, impregnated the wife, and what came out was the Jersey Devil. That was the baby. The baby was born a devil. It had the horse head, the head of a horse, the wings of a bat, and cloven foot of the devil, and a long tail. And it's got glowing red eyes. And people see this thing here in New Jersey, in the Pine Barrens, South Jersey. The Pine Barrens are an extensive area of wood, pine, woods that are untouched and protected. So they go for miles and miles. We're not talking like, a park here. We're talking about, like an entire county.
Yeah, like if you want to make somebody disappear, you take them out to the pines.
Yeah, just let them go. You get lost in there. There are no signs. It all looks the same. Every tree looks like the next one, so you don't know where the hell you're going. Very easy to get lost in there, and it's huge. It's huge. It's desolate. There is literally nothing around there. People have houses there. You could travel for 15 minutes, maybe not see anybody else or in a car. Hard to believe in New Jersey. New Jersey happens to be a very dynamic state. It's it has a lot of eclectic things to it, as far as like you could make a left turn and be at a farm, and make a right and you're back into city and buildings.
Yeah,
and then
you got the beach, you got farms, you got the pines, you got everything.
Right, exactly. So there's a lot of space that, in most people's heads, they might not equivalent New Jersey to having that type of area. But I mean, it looks like you'd be out in the middle of Montana. Honestly, it's just this huge, desolate expanse of forest. And this thing is said to roam those trees and live in that forest right now as we speak. It's there. There are sightings like every week. Literally every week. And if you laugh because I look, I know, I look. I do. I look. I go and I look because I live in New Jersey. And you know what? I had a Sasquatch instance, and we'll get to that later. So, but I have been close to people, and I've heard and seen some odd things too down there. Never anything conclusive for me. But I've heard tell, and I've known other people that have actually seen this thing and swear by it. I mean, when they're telling, you can actually see the fear in their eyes as they're telling the story and relating what they saw and the way they saw it. And I mean, you can actually, the fear that two people told me the story, and they stayed with me to this day, that this thing was just in a tree, like 30 feet from the house, staring at them in a fucking tree in the middle of the night, in the dark, and just hanging out there like, lunchtime, they're going to eat. She's laughing. Why you laugh? It's not funny. That's scary. That's scary shit. That's very scary. If you saw this thing, you'd be scared too.
It sounds scary. No, it really does. Like if I was to go out in my yard and there was this beastly winged horse thing with goat feet, like up in a tree, fuck yeah, I'm going to be scared. Yeah. Do I think he's going to be there? Nah, I don't. But I do believe, the mind can play tricks on you. People can see things that are wild and crazy.
I'm going to tell the story when you're done. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, when I was in high school, and we were getting our driver's licenses and everything like that, we used to all read Weird New Jersey back in the day. And
yeah, it's still here.
Yeah, I mean, we loved it. We used to try going to look. We went, oh my God. Can't even tell you how long we were in the car looking for the Devil's Tree. We were up in Old Bridge at that abandoned base. That, oh God, probably somebody's gonna come find me and arrest me because I'm admitting to being there. We went looking in those houses and out in those fields.
Right.
Looking for something, looking for the Jersey Devil, looking for all sorts of shit. We used to do that shit when we were kids. So it brings back fond memories, and it's just, you know, back then it was like, oh man, we can, maybe we're gonna find him, maybe we're gonna find him, you know, like that type of thing.
But people do. They set out, you know, weekly and monthly. Every you know, every so often you hear about people going out and looking. People are out there every week. You know, I know that for a fact, looking for this thing. But you see like reports coming in, you know, like every month or so that
Oh,
somebody
okay.
was out there and they saw something. Now, if we have, do we have time for a Squatch story?
Yeah, absolutely. Squatch
All
it
right,
up.
all right. And this is how I became a squasher. All right, I was 11 years old or 10 years old, and I had two older sisters, June and Kathy. And June was dating a gentleman at that time that hunted, and I was a young guy, and I enjoyed the woods and shooting and stuff like that. So I would go with them. We went camping in Long Valley, New Jersey, at a back then it was called a rod and gun club. You know, it was a big open farm where you could camp and whatever.
Okay.
And we camped. So we're camping on this farm, and it's big, it's huge. There's acres and acres of land. It's wild. It's all wild run, and there's only maybe three people other than us on this entire expansive farm. So it's, you know, there was virtually nobody there besides us, other than maybe two other people, and they were all the way, you know, miles away from us on the other side of the farm. So we go out there and we're camping. Now it's June and I and my sister Kathy. And since I had knowledge with guns, there was a gun in the tent. There was a 20 gauge shotgun in the tent. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Start with that. It is a semi warm night in late September. And there's three gentlemen that we were camping with. Bless you. It was three guys that are two brothers and another gentleman. I'm not going to bring names into it. So they're the guys that want to go out at night and they're going to do some raccoon hunting. Okay, so they go out and they're doing their raccoon hunting. It's just like a light rain, you know, and you can hear it hitting the tent, and the three of us are in there. And when I fell asleep. It was late. It was around 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, you know, but in the woods, you know, after like 9 o'clock, you're in the woods. There's nothing. There's no TV. You're asleep. You're out. So I'm sleeping, and I wake up, and I'm between both of my sisters, who are arm in arm next to me on either side of me,
Mm-hmm.
with looks on their faces like I can't describe the way they looked. There was fear in their eyes, both of them. I heard something let go of a scream that probably will chill my blood until the day I die. I have never heard anything quite like this before in my life, ever. And I never repeated it after that day. Something let go of a scream that lasted 10 to 15 seconds, and it was not far from the tent. It was so close that without even realizing it, I had grabbed the shotgun and pulled it up next to me and froze. And what ensued was crashing. And I'm talking about crashing through the woods. Couldn't have been 15, 20 feet from the friggin' tent. Whatever was out there sounded like two raccoons got into a fight with two cats, and they were literally just ripping themselves apart. That was the screaming coming out. And then it sounded like trees were breaking, not tree branches, but it sounded like trees were breaking. Okay. This lasted for about a minute and a half, and it was pure fucking terror. Okay. There were no lights on in the tent. The guys were far, far off from us.
Mm-hmm.
We sat there after we heard whatever it was move past us, you know, and go. We sat there stock still in the dark, huddled onto the shotgun, the three of us, for about an hour. When the zipper on the tent moved, I positioned the gun, and my sister threw the barrel up. It was the guys coming back.
Oh my God.
From the camping. I was so freaked out, I actually almost shot the front of the tent on my mother's grave. So they say they heard something about, if you position the time, about a half an hour after we heard something, they heard something. They don't know what it was. But Dave, one guy, no names, right? The look in his eyes when he was describing what he heard, and the look that I understood what he was saying he heard, said everything I needed to know. We didn't imagine this. This happened, okay? This was real. Now, we're done camping. We go home. 2 days after we're done camping, 2 days after we're done camping in Long Valley, New Jersey, in the Star Ledger, my mother read the newspaper. In the paper, there was a Bigfoot sighting in Long Valley 2 days later, and they found out they actually found prints by the train tracks. Now,
that's crazy.
You could see where whatever the hell went through the area was, because the amount of brush that was pushed aside and broken, the branches that were broken. If it was a hoax, somebody would have had to have brought all this wood with them on their shoulders and threw it around. You would have heard them. I mean, there's no way. You would have had to saw these things in half yourself in front of us in order to break. And these things were snapped. I mean, like snapped.
Ever the skeptic that I am, I have to just, be my skeptic self. Could perhaps the screaming or the screeching that you heard, could it have been owls? Because I know owls sometimes can scream and sound like women being murdered.
Stevie, this thing, when you heard it, your blood, I instinctually knew that there was something outside of that tent that should not have been there, that I should have had no business looking at, that I don't need to know about, that I never want to see up close and personal. That's what the scream said. This was not a bird. This thing was throaty and big. It was a big scream. This wasn't, again, it rocked you. I mean, I literally locked up and froze with the shotgun.
Yeah. Well, especially when you're a little kid, that's got to be fucking terrifying. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but it wasn't just me now. Remember that now. I had my two older sisters there who at that point were, June, she had to be, she was about 18, 19 years old at that point. The other three gentlemen, the eldest of the three gentlemen was in his late 30s. He was a good friend of the family of the two gentlemen that brought us camping. So you had a varied age range here that all six of us were just, like, what the fuck was that? Never got an answer.
And now, what about bears running through the woods? When you're camping, no bears.
Again, now you've got three guys that are avid hunters, and me, who was fledgling young guy, but it's still very into animals and tracking and so forth. There were no bear tracks. Whatever went through there was walking in a path, a straight path, and just literally moved shit out of its way.
Wow.
Like, when I say shit, I'm not talking about like a bush or a sapling. I'm talking about fucking like half trees, just and never saw it or heard anything like that again in my life. Never.
That's wild.
And I've listened. Well, I've listened to some of these. Okay. I don't necessarily agree with everything that goes on. Like, I'm not going to go out into the middle of the woods with a stick and start hitting it on a tree and tapping.
Let me draw this monster out. Ring the dinner bell.
First of all, little common sense. FYI, it's 9 times bigger than you. It's going to rip you to pieces if you find it. You don't want to find it, okay? leave a camera, get a trail camera by all means. GoPro, stick it on a tree, walk away. Get in the plane, take a ride, go for a while, come back in the daylight, armed heavily, and look. Otherwise, you don't want to mess with this thing. All right, you don't want to see it, you don't want to know anything about it. But I do listen to a lot of the stuff that goes on. I do watch. I have a couple of video feeds that I listen to. About people that go out.
We all have our thing. We all have our thing that we're into. You're a squatcher, and I admire that. That's awesome. That's awesome.
I was absolutely petrified. All right. So since that day, I've been on my game and watching. I got an eye out behind me. I don't necessarily agree with all the tactics that people employ to find these things, but I do listen to the recordings and so forth. Mm-hmm. And
have you ever heard anything that sounded like what you heard?
Yeah, twice. I've heard something that sounded like it, but I mean, obviously, it's never been that close to me since then, and I hope to God it never is again, because I'm telling you, if anything has ever scared me to death in life, that was it. That was the thing that literally took the cake. And I mean, to this day, if I heard that thing, I would probably bawl I would scream like a bitch. I would. Worse than I would if I saw a spider. I'm arachnophobic too. I don't know if I mentioned that.
Oh no, I am not a fan of spiders myself. And there's even an urban legend about the spiders too. You know that one?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
There's a couple of them. There's about, and of course, back to the and not to swipe away Bigfoot, but just now that I'm thinking about the spiders, I gotta bring that up. Again, back with the lessons to be learned. The main one that I always remembered was that you had to make sure you washed your hair.
Yeah.
Because otherwise the spiders were going to lay eggs in your hair and go and burrow into your head.
Yeah. Yep.
And then you're going to have spiders coming out of your ears and out of your nose and blah, and just basically sprout this spider giant, evil, nasty thing. I think that's how I heard it anyway. It was wildly exaggerated from the original myth. I think the original urban legend for the spiders was about a girl who had gotten her hair done up in a beehive hairdo. Yeah. And she loved it so much. And so to keep it from falling out, she didn't want to wash her hair. She just kept spraying it every day. And after about like a week or so, all the spiders had started just, you know what I mean? So it was horrible. Look, now that's my nightmare. That's my fucking nightmare.
The only thing I scream about now in this day and age is spiders. Like I just absolutely, and one night I fell asleep on the couch, and I'm watching TV. I was on the couch alone. I fell asleep, and I wake up, and I'm laying back, and I open my eyes, and I see something moving in front of me.
No!
And I'm like, what is that? And I'm looking, and the light's hitting it a little bit, and it's really moving, and it's getting a little bigger. And then I realize, oh shit, that's a spider.
Oh God!
But then I realized how close it's like 2 inches off my face, and it's like ready to land. I'm like, oh man! While I was sleeping, they know these things are sentient, man. They know they're aliens.
And there you go. That's the other urban legend too, is that while you sleep, they crawl into your nose and in your ears, and you eat 70 spiders a year or some shit.
Yeah.
That's just wild to me. And if I do, I don't want to know about it. I don't want to fucking know about it because it makes me sick. No, thank you. Do your thing, spider. Get away from me.
It's bad luck, and it'll tell you. Superstition. It's bad luck to kill them in the house. So I run around. I run around with a cup.
I am not a superstitious person by any means. And if I see a fucking spider, I say, you know the rules. Because if they're in here, spiders are kind of just everywhere. But if they're in my house and I don't see them, hey.
Right.
What I don't see don't hurt me. You know what I mean? But If I see the fucker and it comes anywhere within 25 feet of me, it's dead. It's dead. And I even say, you know the fucking rules. You don't come out during the day. You don't come out and say, hey, hi, what are you cooking for dinner? No, we're not friends. We're not friends. You're not my roommate.
Right.
You're done.
So you gonna eat that? You know?
I can't stand them.
The rule is, in my eyes, if it's bigger than a quarter, it's going down. It's on. It's on. It's on.
If it's bigger than a quarter, it shouldn't exist.
Right, exactly. They're aliens. Nothing should have the power to have 8 legs, first of all, and be able to walk up a wall silently. Okay? That is just the freakiest shit ever.
Look, I don't even nothing should have 8 legs and be able to eat a bird. Okay?
Right. No, that is absolutely crazy.
You know, and oh man, arachnophobia is probably as dated as it is, and as, you know, the special effects and everything, as campy and corny as it might be to watch in 2018. Man, I could put that movie on right now and get fucking nightmares for weeks, probably, from the spiders.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's no question. I just typed in the chat room and see if anybody's here. I don't see anybody here. I see one viewer here.
We're having a good time.
Yeah. That's what this is about.
So unless you had anything more to add, we can move on to our next topic. Kind of along the same vein of urban legends, urban myths. You know, the whole Amityville. Right. And Conjuring.
My favorite subject.
Many spin-offs coming from Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Yeah. Oh, they're awesome.
I know that's a subject you're very interested in. That you've done a lot of reading on, and I don't remember, when did Amityville happen? When did he kill his family?
That was in the 70s. I believe it was like 77. If I'm not mistaken.
Now, do you remember a lot of buzz around that? And
oh yeah. Well, they squashed it. It came through. I remember a story on Channel 4 News. I remember watching it when it happened, and it was squashed. I mean, it was a murder. Yeah, it was a murder. You know, it was a horrific, brutal murder.
Oh yeah, multiple homicide. You know, little children.
Yeah, it was very tragic and very sick. So that part of it made the news. And in the beginning, they were saying things along the lines of witchcraft and things like that, and then squashed.
Mm-hmm.
And you never heard about it again. The media, even back then, was covering things, and it was covered and buried and pushed away, and that was it. Only to resurface later in the 80s when the Amityville Horror, the movie, came out.
Mm-hmm.
And that told the story of the Lutzes and so forth. And that house was real. Ed and Lorraine Warren had existed long before that.
Yeah.
As demonologists, and they had many case stories before that. But the Amityville Horror
is kind of what brought them.
Yeah. Now, if people aren't familiar with Ed and Lorraine Warren, if you've watched The Conjuring 1 or 2, or I'm sorry,
Annabelle.
Annabelle, thank you.
Yeah, Annabelle Creation, The Nun, which is the newest of them.
All these movies are based on things that happened with Ed and Lorraine Warren. And they were absolutely two of my favorite people as far as hunters went. You know, they were demon hunters. Mm-hmm. And people see this stuff like, Buffy the Vampire Slayer from the 80s and stuff like that. And or the movie, the TV show Supernatural, which was, I dug it. I actually watched that show religiously for years. I did. I got away from it, but I did watch it for years. You take these TV depictions of things, and you kind of run with that in your mind as far as what these people do. They got wooden stakes and they're out there, hunting. No, there's totally different stories, totally different animals, and when you get into the case findings that they have had and the things that they post about, well, unfortunately, I don't think Lorraine is with us anymore.
No, I don't. I don't think they are.
No, I don't think either Ed or Lorraine is here anymore. When you look at their case findings and unbiasedly look at the stuff,
Yeah.
I can't see you not walking away with, holy shit, that's fucking weird. That's just really weird. At the very least, the most that I've gotten out of it was absolutely frightened to death from certain things. And one of the things was the nun. It depicted a nun as a demon in Conjuring. And that freaked me out more than anything else. Very, very scary.
I think I think for me, I expected a lot more out of the Annabelle films, just because of how great Child's Play was and how much Chucky fucking just scared the shit out of me when I was little. To this day, I don't like dolls. Right. I don't like them. I don't like their faces. I don't like their weird little marbly eyes. I don't like their creepy fucking baby hands. I don't know. Can you hear me? Hello? Hello?
Wow.
What happened?
I don't know. We just we're talking about some serious stuff, and we just had like this weird brownout.
No, it's called the internet is having problems. There's no ghosts here. So am I good? Can you hear me?
That's
Hello?
Weird.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine. I'm not having any problems on my end. Maybe the nun is coming to get you.
I think we're back. I think this is back now. I think we just hit a little glitch there.
I think the nun was coming to get you, Joe.
That's what you got a spider behind you right there hanging on the wall.
Fuck you. Yeah, it was right there. But
now we know what to get each other for Christmas, right?
Yeah, thank you. No thanks. Thanks, but no thanks. But Annabelle kind of disappointed me, the movie, and I like and like I said, Chucky scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. I still don't like dolls. I can't stand them. And you look at Annabelle, and then you look at, like, they really, I feel like they tried too hard with the doll to make it a lot scarier. Because didn't you say it's just a Raggedy Ann doll?
Primarily, it's just a Raggedy Ann doll, yeah.
Yeah. So you look at a Raggedy Ann doll and you're like, man, I mean, it's kind of ugly. It's kind of scary. But then you look at the Annabelle doll and that shit's way creepier. But the movie to me just kind of fell flat. I didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would. Still creeped me out though, because of, hello, tiny, creepy human face dolls. But speaking of dolls, there is one in South Florida, Key West, and his name is Robert. And Robert the doll is, he's a creep. I'm not going to say anything bad about him because, sorry, Robert, I've never seen you in person. But in pictures that I've seen, I mean, this thing's hideous. This thing is fucking creepy. There's a lot of history and lore behind Robert. But basically, he's kept in this little house. And, the whole friend of a friend story that spreads urban legends. Well, I have my own of those. So this girl I used to work with that lived down in South Florida for a little while, her and some friends from college all decided they were going on a trip. They were going to Key West. Well, one of the girls was like, oh, we got to stop and see Robert the doll, blah, 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 blah. So they go, they visit the house where he's at. It's like I'm not really even sure what kind of house it is. It's some type of museum of some sort. And, they're visiting and they're checking the place out. And they see Robert and they're taking pictures, even though they're not supposed to. And they're laughing. They're taking videos like, oh, look how fucking stupid it is. Selfies, this, and this. Well, the girl that had planned the trip, and again, this is a friend of a friend story. I don't know this person. You know what I mean? I don't know how true this story was that was told to me. The girl whose idea it was to go and visit the house where Robert was being kept, and to, you know, take the pictures. Oh, no one's here. We'll take the pictures. You know, let's make fun of this doll. They got into a really bad car accident and she was hospitalized. Like, she didn't die. But so the urban legend is that if you disrespect Robert, if you don't follow the house rules, and you make fun of him in his presence in any way, that something bad happens to you within X amount of days or something. You know what I mean? It's almost kind of like The Ring. If you watch the tape, you're going to die in 7 days. You know, that type of thing. So that was a story that I was like, oh man, talk about a time where absolutely worst timing for a coincidence. Like, worst absolute timing for a car accident ever. Now, for all I know, who even fucking knows if the car accident happened? I don't know. Like I said, I don't know this person. All I know is the story was told to me. And so now I'm telling it to you and telling it to the audience. But crazy. As a cautionary tale, kids, don't fuck with Robert the doll.
All right, so don't fuck with spiders. Okay? Don't piss off Sasquatch. Stay away from the Jersey Devil. And don't fuck with Robert. Okay? That's what we're getting at. That's what I got at is now. Do not mess with Robert. Now, that was a new one to me. I never heard that.
Yeah, that was...
he can stay put wherever he is. I got no offense to him. I mean that in a nice way.
Yeah, sorry, Robert.
Right. So he can just chill over there and do his thing, and that's great. But I actually never heard of that, and I'm going to look into that.
Supposedly that's what inspired the Child's Play series.
Right, the Chucky.
Yeah, thing. That's supposedly. I have to fact check myself on that, but I'm pretty sure that Robert the doll inspired Chucky.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I'll check. I'm gonna look into that now.
Creepo stuff. What do you think as far as now? I know you described to me earlier in our pre-podcast discussion about Annabelle in her little case, and they keep her locked up in the Warren Museum. Have you ever actually been there?
No, but I would like to go. I'm actually. They say you can pick up residual things when you go to these places. So you know, if you believe in it, you got to be careful. You really, I've seen enough in my time to know that there are, as far as my opinion goes, this is just my opinion, people. You can take it or leave it. I've personally seen enough crap in my time to know that there are forces here greater than me, and I'm not going to mess with them. So, when you go to these places, they tell you, you do like a little cleansing thing or, something along the line. Do it, do what they tell you to do. Don't take this stuff for granted. That's just my opinion. And I hope to God that nothing ever happens to anyone. I'm not, I don't want to see anybody come to harm ever.
No, absolutely not. Yeah.
But you really got to, you got to understand that there are things in this world, bigger and far scarier than me.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like we said at the beginning of the show, there's enough crazy shit that goes on in our regular day-to-day reality that you can't help but have these urban legends and scary supernatural stories and ghost stories and things like that are bound to be spun and told in different manners of delivery, whether it be just like a friend of a friend story or a creepypasta on the internet like Slendy or one of the other like many creepypastas that are out there. Slenderman's just probably one of the most popular, Candle Cove or something like that. And then you've got like the urban legends of old that have been passed down decade after decade. And like you had said earlier, Hansel and Gretel's a really good example of an old ass creepy urban legend, you know what I mean, from many years ago. And you know what it all comes down to is that life is stranger than fiction, but fiction makes it fun, I guess. You know, that's the way I look at it.
Well, yeah, it does, but there's a lot of truth to it too. I mean, there's, we talked about that earlier too. There's got to be
Yeah.
something, in there that really spawns people to keep telling these stories as fervently as they do.
Yeah.
There's got to be some glimmer of truth in there. All right, Hansel and Gretel. Was there some freak out in the woods that was cannibal? Possible. We had
Exactly.
again. People are like, oh, it's no, come on, man, that's crazy. Is it crazy? We live with Jeffrey Dahmer in society, and nobody knew.
Exactly.
And who are his next door
Charlie
neighbors? When they
Manson,
right,
Ed Gein, Ed Kemper, all these fucking crazy ass serial killers
John
that,
Wayne Gacy. I
yeah,
mean,
walked among us, and guys that we still, you know, what's the
yeah,
asshole's name? The Golden State Killer that they just got walked among us for years with no one
yeah.
knowing who he was until now. You know what I mean?
Uh,
Another recent
BTK
arrest.
killer.
Yeah. Oh my God. That
Yeah, another sicko.
yeah, but he was like a model citizen, you know,
He
walking.
was a preacher, a deacon in
Yeah,
some
that's
kind of
fucking
church. I
crazy.
mean, it
That's
was
fucking
like,
crazy. And another recent arrest that
yeah.
they just made were the Colorado hammer killer. I think that was his
Oh
name.
God, yeah,
They actually
yeah,
I think they either did or they're about to make an arrest in those murders and series of attacks. I believe they were back in the 80s.
right.
Very grisly, nasty shit. If you want to look into it, and that's like your thing. If you're into like serial killers and stuff like that, we should actually have a whole in the future. We should do a whole
Yeah,
cast
we
about
do a show.
those fucking sickos. But yeah, I mean, look at that. Like way back when, all the way up until now, they might not have hooks for hands, but
Right.
they're creepy guys lurking in the shadows. You know what I mean?
Oh my God, yeah, and that's the reality of it. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's the stuff that urban legends are born from.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
uh, you know, these people walk amongst us. So how weird would it be for that to happen back in the dark ages, and people don't have a lot of books or media
Mm-hmm.
to read or see these things. So it's all done by word of mouth, and you know, it's just like people getting together, at a storefront, a store, Dunkin' Donuts, having your
Yeah.
coffee, and you're bullshitting with with your barista about, something. I'm a Dunkin' guy. I don't do baristas. I got somebody that gives me a cup of coffee, but for argument's sake, let's say you go to Starbucks, you're talking to people, whatever. You're talking to people, and you hear a little bit about the guy that
Mm-hmm.
did you hear about the guy that took his family out,
Oh
and
yeah.
right. So back in the days when there was no, obviously, forget internet, there was no TVs, there was no nothing. It was just people talking,
Mm-hmm.
and it would spread. And somebody had enough sense to write it down,
Oh
jot it down,
yeah.
and it became a short story. It became a novel or a book, and it became folklore. It became legend, and there's got to be some truth to it. There's got to be somewhere along the line. There's got to be some truth to it. So was that nutty witch out in the woods eating kids? Maybe.
She might
You never
be.
know. Crazier
Yeah.
shit has happened. So
Exactly.
don't go into the
So
woods.
hey, yeah, that's the kids. Be careful in the woods. But that's a question for our viewers. You know, I don't think we have anybody active in the chat this week. But leave us a comment. Let
No.
us know what you think. What's your favorite urban legend? What's your favorite story and the lesson learned from it? You know, drop us a line, email us, hit us up on social media or in the comments here on YouTube. But we're coming up on our hour, guys. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for joining us. What a fun show. I love talking about this kind of stuff. Urban legends are super fun.
Awesome.
Myths are super fun. Grounded in reality or not, everybody's, got something that creeps them out. And I think it was a great little subject that we had going on here.
Yeah, I agree. I think this was a fun episode for me. Obviously, I got to tell the squash story. I'm slowly coming out of the closet
Relive
here,
the horror.
each week I come a little more out of the closet.
You're gonna
Eventually
be a
I'll probably
full-fledged
have the
squatcher
squash hat.
soon.
Yeah, I'll have like squash slippers next week, and but I tell you what, when you hear these things, firsthand, it's a game changer, people. It really is. You start to open your mind to other things. So if you don't, I'm saying this, if you don't believe in things, if you have a reservation, is it true? Is it not true? Understand that somewhere along the line, no matter how small it was, had to happen in order for some of these things to become true.
Yeah, somebody
to
somewhere
become legend. I'm sorry. There's some truth to these legends, the legends of the Leeds family. And do I really think that they had a baby bat with a horse head? I mean, come on. But if I'm out in the woods at night in the Pine Barrens of New Jersey, am I doing this? Am I looking up at the trees?
I think even me, Stevie the skeptic here, I think I'd be like,
yeah, every now and then,
every twig snap, every crunch of leaves, I'd be like, you know what? Fuck it, I got better shit to do. I'm a creature of comfort. Put me back in my house.
Right.
This is why I don't do camping.
Never know.
Just an FYI.
Never discount anything that you don't know. They say, I think I was Dee Schneider from Twisted Sister who said it. What you don't know sure can hurt you. Right?
Oh yeah, there you go.
Freaky, yep.
That's a good one.
I'm really macabre this week. I'm just like macabre as hell, like all creepy and shit.
Hey, it's all good. Sometimes we need a little bit of macabre. Speaking of macabre, I think actually next episode 11, next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central, same place. We should do an entire episode about serial killers. I think that would be a good topic.
I'm good with that. I'm absolutely good with that. Eventually we'll be able to incorporate some affectations here, like pictures and links and so forth. We'll get to that. We're growing. The show's growing a little bit. I personally want to thank whoever the hell's been listening to us for 10 episodes.
Thank you guys.
It's awesome to have you guys on board here. This is something that Stevie and I do because we have a very strong passion and a love for horror and metal and whatever the hell else, Sasquatch and spiders and dolls and everything we talk about.
Yeah, good shit. We have a common interest in it. We enjoyed talking shit about it. So thank you again. Remember to subscribe and hit the little bell if you want notifications about when we do go live, in case you don't see the links that we post. And make sure and share with your horror-loving friends and family too.
Yeah, we did have somebody, and I meant to bring the name up, and I don't have it in front of me now written down, and I will by next episode. We had one person more subscribed. We have one viewing now, and I'm wondering if that's a guy who subscribed. If it is, hello, how are you?
Yeah, cool.
Your name will not go nameless forever, I promise you.
Well, awesome. But again, thank you guys for tuning in. And remember, same place, same time, different topic, but always something awesome. Thanks for checking us out, and we'll see you next time.
Power Metal Cast, people. Chill. Later. Watch those Sasquatch ads.